Welcome to r/EntitledParents, where Karen is demanding OP pays for her son's schooling. Am I the jerk for refusing to pay for my nephew's private school after I paid for my niece's? I, 45 male, have done well for myself as a lawyer, and I try to help my family when I can. My younger sister, Melissa, who's 38, is a single mom with 2 kids, Chloe, who's 16, and Ryan, who's 12. Chloe and I have always been very close. She's bright, ambitious, and passionate about her future. Ryan, on the other hand, is a lot harder to connect with. He's rebellious, struggles in school, and doesn't seem to care much about anything. 2 years ago, Melissa asked me to help pay for Chloe's private school tuition. She couldn't afford it, and Chloe had her heart set on attending. Chloe even wrote me a heartfelt letter explaining why the school was important to her and how she planned to excel there. Her sincerity and drive blew me away, so I agreed. I've been covering half her tuition ever since. Chloe has absolutely thrived. She's a straight-A student, involved in extracurriculars, and always looking at top colleges. I couldn't be prouder of her. Fast forward to now, and Melissa has asked me to do the same for Ryan. But this is where it gets tricky. Ryan is nothing like Chloe. He's been suspended multiple times, doesn't put effort into his studies, and honestly, he's kind of a brat. I've tried to bond with him over the years, but he's always been dismissive. Based on what I've seen, he doesn't care about school and hasn't shown any real drive like Chloe did. I told Melissa I wasn't comfortable paying for Ryan's private school because I didn't think it would be a good use of money. She was furious. She accused me of playing favorites and said I was making Ryan feel like a lost cause. She said I was dividing her family by treating the kids unequally. Things got even messier when Ryan overheard part of the conversation. Later, Melissa called me in tears, saying Ryan felt rejected and was asking why he wasn't good enough like Chloe. I tried to explain that it wasn't about favoritism. Chloe earned the help by showing she was serious about her education. I even suggested using the money for tutoring or extracurricular programs that Ryan might actually enjoy, but Melissa shut that down, saying it wasn't the same. Now my parents are involved and they think I'm being too harsh. They believe private school might give Ryan the structure he needs to improve his behavior and that I should give him the same opportunity I gave Chloe. Other family members are split though. My sister agrees with me and thinks Melissa is being entitled for expecting me to bankroll both kids' educations. But the tension in the family is only growing, and I'm starting to feel like I'm the villain here. I love my nephew, and I hate that he feels rejected, but I can't shake the feeling that paying for his private school would be a waste of money. At the same time, I'm worried this might cause permanent damage to my relationship with Melissa and the rest of my family. Am I wrong for refusing to pay for Ryan's tuition? I think you should talk to Ryan, something like this. Before this tuition thing blows up any further, I want to hear what you want, not what your parents are forcing you to do. When your sister was your age, she came to me begging for help to attend a special school because it was important to her, and I agree that it's only fair to me to offer you the same gift if you want it. But I don't want to spend a lot of money on a gift that you won't even like. Maybe you have a different goal that I can help you with, or maybe you haven't decided yet and I should wait and help pay for college instead. Not the jerk. You're generous, but not an ATM. Chloe showed drive and made the most of the opportunity, while Ryan hasn't really shown that he'd value it. Investing in him without effort on his part feels like throwing money away. You even suggested alternatives. Am I the jerk for saying dishwashing is unskilled labor? I've been seeing this girl for 3 months, and I'm pretty into her. She's a professional chef, super hot, and really tough. She smokes and drinks a lot more than I do, but other than that, I really can't complain. She's assertive, which I actually like. It's probably because of her job, but it carries over into other areas, which works for me. She works at this upscale bar where the food is a big deal. She's crazy talented, and her dishes even get written up in local media, which is kind of amazing. It feels like I'm dating a low-key celebrity because whenever we go out, she knows all these industry people. We get free drinks and are treated like VIPs, and honestly, it's pretty cool. That said, she complains about her job a lot. Her boss doesn't support her and refuses to hire more kitchen staff, so she's stuck doing almost everything herself. Her hours are ridiculous and she's constantly stressed out. It doesn't make sense to me though, because the bar is always packed and they clearly make good money. According to her, the owner is some old school boomer who doesn't think her issues are a big deal. I hate feeling useless when she vents about work, so one night I offered to help out by washing dishes so she wouldn't have to work until 3 a.m. and we could actually go out. I'm retired. I made good money in tech, so I've got time. When I made the offer, she looked kind of surprised, then laughed and said, "Thank you for the offer," in a way that felt a little patronizing. That rubbed me the wrong way, so I pressed her on it. She shifted into her professional mode and asked if I'd ever washed dishes before. I said, yeah, of course I have, just not in a restaurant. She got this annoyed look and asked why I thought I could just jump in and start washing dishes like it was no big deal. I laughed, thinking she was joking, and said anyone could wash dishes. Teenagers do it for their first job all the time. That's when she got offended and told me I didn't understand the realities of kitchen work. She said dishwashers are the most important people in the restaurant. I honestly thought that was such an exaggeration. I worked at Wendy's in high school. Sure, I didn't do dishes there, but come on, it's the same skill set, right? What she does as a chef is skilled labor, but washing dishes? Not so much. She told me there's no such thing as unskilled labor and said she'd consider letting me help if she thought I wouldn't mess up service. That really ticked me off. It felt like she was being rude, so I said as much. She fired back, calling me condescending and presumptuous, and said she deals with enough of that from her boss. The rest of the date was awkward until she decided to just change the subject. She smiled and moved on, but now I can't stop thinking about it. If this is how she overreacts to me offering to help, maybe her boss isn't entirely wrong about her being dramatic. Am I the jerk? Edit. She had specifically said she needed a dishwasher before, so I wasn't just randomly assuming it was an easy task she needed help with. That might not have been clear. Edit 2. When I asked why dishwashing was skilled, all she said was I'd get run over. I tried to ask more, but she said it was a bigger conversation and didn't want to get into it while upset and not entirely sober. Fair enough, I guess. She, an experienced chef, told you that dishwashers are the most important people in the restaurant. You, who haven't worked in a food establishment since high school, are discounting her experience. You worked at a Wendy's, which has a fixed menu, doesn't serve food on plates with flatware, and uses paper cups. Dishwashing at a fast food restaurant is not the same as at a full-service restaurant. Your attempts to wash dishes would disrupt service at your date's restaurant. Fitting in with a team of workers and knowing what to do is a key part to running a successful restaurant kitchen. Washing dishes may be a humble position, but it's certainly crucial to running the kitchen. It's similar to engine oil in your car. You don't realize how crucial it is until the engine seizes. You're dating someone who works full-time in a professional cooking environment, and you responded as a condescending jerk. You're the jerk. There are practically no jobs that a person can jump in and do without training. That's what she meant by no job is unskilled labor. You are a snob. You made it worse by continuing along with your insistence of demeaning a job that she finds extremely important. Without proper dishwashing, she can't do her job. She can't plate on dirty or improperly cleaned dishes. She values her dishwashers. You could learn a little respect and not look down on jobs that you feel are beneath your high level. Update. After reading the comments, I started feeling like maybe I really messed up. She didn't text me this morning to confirm our date like she usually does, and I had a bad feeling about it. I decided to apologize sooner rather than later because the last thing I wanted was to make things worse by waiting. I texted her and apologized for what I now realized was mansplaining something she obviously knew more about. I told her I was hurt by her patronizing response when I offered to help, but I understood why she might have felt that way. She responded pretty quickly, which I appreciated. She said she was sorry too, explaining that she thought I was joking and never would have reacted like that if she had known I was serious. She also apologized for venting so much and said it wasn't always a crisis situation, but the bar has been insanely busy since it doubled its business last year. She's burning out, and the whole situation with her boss is driving her crazy. She's tried to talk to him multiple times, but he just brushes her off like it's not a big deal. It honestly sounds like a nightmare, and I felt awful that I had reminded her of him during our argument. I asked if we could revisit the whole skilled versus unskilled debate when we met up later, mostly because it was still bothering me. She hesitated and said, "Is it okay if we don't? Things were going so well." I could tell she just didn't want to argue again, so I said I'd respect her wishes, even though I was still frustrated that she made such a big deal about it initially. Final update. So this whole thing blew up in a way I didn't see coming. I've been going back and forth between feeling like an idiot and feeling like maybe I wasn't entirely in the wrong. A lot of people here gave me some helpful perspective, and some of you really let me have it, but either way, thanks for weighing in. For anyone who said I was the jerk, you'll probably be happy to know that she broke up with me. Here's how the conversation went. Her. I have to cancel tonight. I'm sorry for the short notice. I don't feel up to going out. Me. This is because of the labor thing, isn't it? I'm sorry for asking so many questions. I really want to understand you better. Her. No, it's because you think it's about that. You keep demonstrating that you're not listening to me, We clearly have communication issues, and it shouldn't be this hard to understand each other at this stage. That's no one's fault. Me. We don't have communication issues. You don't like to explain your assertions when you get called out. You need to understand that when you call someone incompetent, you're going to have to back it up. So you're not just canceling dinner, this is a breakup. I thought you could have held out a little longer to tell me in person. That would have been the decent thing to do. Her. I never said you were incompetent or even implied it. You're putting words in my mouth. You interrogate me and won't listen to my answers. You assume the worst interpretation of everything I say. Look, I'm sorry. I thought this was the best way to do this, and I'm sorry if I was wrong. I figured it's only been a couple of months, and I don't want to make you drive all the way from your town. We could still meet up if you want to talk. Me. You implied it. I mean, I thought you would have held out for one more free dinner. Blocked. Good riddance. It seems like you actually despise your now ex. I'm glad she broke up with you. Next time, maybe you should actually like the person you're with. OP. I don't despise her. I'm angry and I have a right to be. She looks down on white-collar workers and resorted to insults and name-calling when we disagreed. I still respect her, but she didn't treat me well. You're the jerk. Judging by your snarky response of thinking she would have held out for one more free dinner, no, you do not respect her. You claim she looks down on white-collar workers when the reality is the opposite. You look down on blue-collar job of washing dishes as something anybody could do and refuse to listen to any explanation as to why you were wrong. You know, just as you accused her of doing. Your projection here is absolutely insane, and you are beyond the jerk in this situation. OP. I only gave her what she gave me. If she's a jerk to me, of course I'm going to be a jerk back. I'm not proud of myself, but it did feel good to dish it back, so to speak. Am I the jerk for being mad at my husband for saying he would pick his deceased wife over me? My husband and I have been married for 3 years, and we have 2 kids. He was married before, though, to his high school sweetheart. They started dating in junior year, made it through long distance in college, and got married right after graduating. It was like a fairy tale for them, but then tragedy struck. She passed away suddenly from an aneurysm at just 26. It completely broke him. They didn't have kids, but they had their whole lives ahead of them, and then it was just gone. For a long time, he didn't think he'd ever remarry. I met him about 4 years after she passed. He was kind, funny, and just so easy to be around. I knew his story from the start. He was always open about how much she meant to him, and I respected that. It never felt like he was comparing me to her, and I've always tried to be understanding about his grief. When we got married, I felt like we were building a future together while still honoring his past. Last night, we went to a potluck at a friend's house. It was fun at first. The food was good, the conversations were light. At one point, one of our friends started talking about relationships. She just went through a divorce, so it was a hot topic for her. Everyone was sharing stories about exes, high school sweethearts, and bad dates. I chimed in and joked that I never thought I'd get married because my luck with men had always been garbage until I met my husband. I said I was lucky to have found him. Then my husband started talking about his first wife. That wasn't unusual. Everyone there knows his history, and it's not like he brings her up all the time. I didn't think much of it, but then, out of nowhere, he says, "If she walked through that front door right now, I'd pick up where we left off." It felt like someone punched me in the stomach. My heart just dropped. The room went dead silent. Everyone looked uncomfortable, and I could feel all their eyes on me. I didn't want to make a scene, so I laughed it off, but I'm sure it didn't come across as genuine. Inside, I was absolutely crushed. I just kept thinking, if he feels that way, then why are we married? I've always known he loved her. I've never asked him to get over her or move on in some way that didn't feel right for him. But saying something like that in front of me, in front of other people, it just felt disrespectful. It's not that I don't understand grief, I just don't understand why he'd say that knowing how it would make me feel. After the party, the car ride home was dead silent. I didn't say a word, and neither did he. When we got home, I told him that what he said hurt me deeply and that we'd talk about it in the morning because I didn't want to say anything I'd regret. I ended up sleeping on the couch because he wouldn't stop trying to talk to me. I just needed space. Now it's morning, I barely slept, he's still asleep, and I'm sitting here, going over everything in my head. I don't know what to say to him when he wakes up. I'm scared of what he'll say, too. This feels like such a huge crack in something I thought was solid. I don't know how to handle it. Update. We sat down and talked. I asked him to let me go first and not interrupt, which he doesn't usually do anyway. This isn't word for word, but here's the gist of how it went. I also worked in some points that people here had made. I started with this. I don't hate you for what you said. I understand where you're coming from. She passed, and it was something neither of you could have seen coming. I would never ask you to get over her or forget her because I know how much you loved her. She was your first love. I've always understood that if she hadn't passed, we probably wouldn't be together and you'd still be with her. I've known that and I've made my peace with it. But what you said hurt me deeply. It embarrassed me in front of everyone. Even though her coming back is impossible, you said if she did, you'd leave me and the kids. That was probably one of the most painful things anyone has ever said to me. I know you're still hurting, and I can see how raw it still is for you, but I need you to go to counseling. And I think we need couples counseling too, as soon as possible. He teared up and apologized over and over. He said he didn't mean to hurt me or embarrass me like that. He admitted that he had been thinking about it before bed and realized he should have kept it to himself. He said, "I just wasn't thinking clearly. It came out wrong, and I didn't even realize how it sounded until afterward." He also said he would never leave me or the kids, and what he said wasn't true. It's just a stupid, poorly thought out comment. I asked him how he'd feel if I said something like that to him. He nodded and said, "I know, it's bad. I shouldn't have said it. I wouldn't be okay if you said that to me. I know you're not okay. I should have apologized right there in front of everyone or not said it at all." Then I told him, "Think about how this sounds to the kids. It's like you saying, 'Hey kids, if my late wife walked through the door, I'd pack up and never speak to you again.'" That hit hard. He went quiet for a while. After a long silence, he asked if I wanted a divorce. I asked him why he'd think that. He said he didn't know, but just thought maybe I did. I didn't answer him directly. I just said we needed counseling. I told him he needed individual counseling and we needed couples counseling together. I said, if the answer to that is no, then I'm not interested in moving forward. At this point, it's not even about the comment anymore. It's about whether he's willing to put in the work to fix what he broke. If he brushed off my feelings or didn't want counseling, it would mean he didn't see this as serious. I told him that too. Some people suggested taking the kids elsewhere to give us time to figure this out, and I agreed. My parents are watching them for the weekend. I'll pick them up Sunday night. It's giving us space to focus on the situation without distractions. He offered to sleep on the couch, which I appreciated. I don't have anywhere else to go, and I haven't told my parents yet because I'd prefer to keep this between us. Families can be quick to judge and sometimes give extreme, unhelpful advice. Plus, it's just embarrassing. We're lucky to have good insurance, so counseling is an option. I told him I felt like the counseling he got after her passing wasn't good enough and that he should have stayed in longer. With something like that, I'd have been in therapy for years before even thinking about marrying someone new. He agreed. He said he only went for about a year and stopped after moving away from his hometown. We agreed that's what we'll do. He kept apologizing all day and telling me he loved me. He also wouldn't stop staring at me. It was like he wanted to say something but couldn't figure out what. It made it so hard to think. I've also been in touch with the people at the potluck who have my number. They've all been supportive and said how they couldn't believe he said that and how they feel bad for me. He showed me texts from his friends too, and some of them made me cry with how kind they were. They told him it's okay to feel the way he feels, but not to say it out loud. In the end, I told him I love him and I've never stopped loving him. I'm not angry at him, but I am hurt. I needed him to know that. What happens next depends on the work we both put in. Am I the jerk for accepting an invitation on my husband's behalf that I knew he wouldn't like and refusing to cancel it? My husband is a busy guy, but not so busy that he couldn't manage his own invitations if he actually wanted to. The problem is, his family and friends act like I'm his personal secretary. At first, I didn't mind being the one to handle it all. I didn't have much going on, so it wasn't a big deal. But right now, I'm just over it. I'm tired of being the one to say no to every invitation, especially when I know they're only asking me because they care more about him being there than me. It feels like I'm stuck in this awkward middleman role, and it's exhausting. I've tried to get them to reach out to him directly, but he either ignores them or sends them right back to me. It's like a never-ending cycle. I've talked to him about how I don't want to be in charge of our social calendar anymore, and he pretends to get it. Then he just doesn't respond to anyone, so nothing ever changes. Recently, I decided to take a different approach. My mother-in-law invited us to join monthly family dinners with her side of the family. Now, I actually like her side better than my husband's dad's side, but we rarely see them because he's closer to his dad's family. Normally, I wouldn't accept something like this without checking with him first, but she had already asked him and he had just ignored her, so I figured, why not? I accepted on his behalf. The first dinner is this Sunday. Here's where it gets messy. Apparently, we were also supposed to have dinner with his grandfather on his dad's side the same day. No one told me about it. His dad's side has this terrible habit of just assuming we'll show up to things without actually confirming. And honestly, I'm not convinced this dinner with his grandfather is even real. My husband has been dodging his half-brother lately because the guy keeps bugging him for money, and his step-siblings will be there too. It feels like he's using this grandfather dinner as an excuse to avoid his mom's side. When I told him I wasn't going to cancel, he got upset. He expects me to back out, but I don't want to. His mom was so happy when I said yes, and I've really missed his sister, who's also going to be there. I told him he's free to cancel if he really doesn't want to go, but now it's turned into this huge argument. He's mad I didn't ask him first, and I don't think it's fair that I'm the one who always has to play messenger. Now he's saying if we go to the first dinner, he expects me to tell his mom that it's not going to be a regular thing, but I think that's his job. I don't have a problem with monthly dinners, so why should I be the one to say no? Am I the jerk here, or is it about time he stepped up and handled this stuff himself? Not the jerk. Apparently, your husband has delegated to you the task of being his calendar secretary. He implicitly sent his mother to you when he didn't respond to his mother. If he doesn't like how you're handling your duties as his calendar secretary, he's free to demote you and reassign those responsibilities. Karen steals my credit card, gets the cops called on her. So I, 22 female, received a visit from my mom on New Year's. She came over with one of my cousins and we hung out for a couple of days, and it was great. The only time things were bad was when she asked if I could loan her about $500, and she promised to cash app me the money back when she got paid next time. I told her no. She tried to argue with me, but I shut her down and she let it go. A week later, I noticed my credit card was missing. I don't use it very often, usually just for a couple of automatic bills. I had logged into my account online to pay my balance since my check came through that morning, and I saw that my balance was much higher than I had expected. There were 3 charges I expected: my electric bill, my phone bill, and some gas, and then several charges that I knew weren't from me. They were for fast food, clothing places, etc. I thought it might be a glitch, so I called my credit card company and I checked my wallet for my card. I realized it was missing, and a nice customer service rep helped me with that whole process. But then I started walking through everyone my wallet had been around and every place it had been left since my last physical use of it. I ended up texting my mom because it was stressing me out and I felt like I needed to talk to one of my parents, but Dad and I aren't on great terms. When I told Mom what happened, she told me not to worry and that it wasn't stolen, she had just borrowed it. To be honest, I did lose my cool once I realized she wasn't joking. She insisted she'd cash at me the money when she gets paid the next day, and that she thought she'd be able to handle it before I even noticed. I told her that's not acceptable and to cut up my card. I deactivated it anyway. She got upset and told me to stop throwing a fit and that she can't believe I'm being such a brat about helping her. Things escalated from there, and I did call her some names before telling her to not contact or come around me and hanging up. After that, I called the police, both in my area and hers, to see which precinct I needed to file charges with. My mom has blown up my phone so much since this that I've had to block her, and she's posting all over Facebook about how I'm getting her thrown back in jail just for borrowing some money, and how she can't understand how she raised such a stingy kid. Am I the jerk? Am I losing my mind? I don't think I did anything wrong here. Not the jerk. You told her no, and then she stole it from you in response. It wasn't even for things she needed either. It was for shopping and indulging herself in restaurant food. Turning her in is necessary. It's the only way to stop this from being your dad. The fact that you said thrown back in jail makes me wonder what she did to end up in jail previously. You didn't do anything wrong, despite her behaving as though you did. OP's gaming addiction costs him everything. Note 1. For those not familiar with this game, Star Citizen is a multiplayer, space trading and combat game. It's been in development since 2012. It uses almost entirely crowdfunding for costs, and as such, it has players buy in-game spaceships for real money, with the cheapest being $45 and some ship packages having a price of $48,000. Some of these ships aren't in-game yet and are considered concept ships, essentially pre-ordering in-game items. Many people consider this game to be a scam based on the amount of time it's been in development, missed development milestones, delays, and the exorbitant prices of some of its content. Note 2. Prior to these posts, OP made 2 posts where he says he spent nearly $5,000 on the game. OP has spent so much on Star Citizen that he's in massive debt. Pay back what you owe immediately and don't rack up debt. OP. But I need new spaceships. Sad face. So your girlfriend literally left you because you bought so many ships to the point she had enough of it and dumped you? Honestly, bud, I'd do the same if I were in her shoes. You need to stop. These things aren't real, and some folks have more money than they need so they can buy things like JPEGs. All you need is a starter. Play the game and earn them in-game. I know fear of missing out hits hard by design, but these ships will still be there and still be earnable in the game. OP. I'm Wing Commander now. I don't know how I got here. I can't pay my rent this month. From every comment you've made, this one is the most disturbing. All of us commenters don't know you. We don't know your relationship or family background. It's hard for us to judge your situation. But you spending money you do not even have is a serious sign. This, more than anything else, is a sign of addiction that even a stranger on the internet can spot. I see many people have suggested therapy, but I don't know if that is a huge step for an addict. I would suggest that you at the very least find people to talk to that can understand your urges. There are many good self-help group projects around addiction in general. Start by going to a group and just listening and maybe telling your story. Even if you don't believe any of us that you have a problem, take the fact that you don't have money for rent as a sign to take the off-ramp before not only your relationship unravels. It can't hurt to go talk to someone who understands. Take care, OP, and know that you can beat this. Update. Follow up to my previous post because maybe you don't believe me. My girlfriend is upset about how much I spent on ships this week. She said she may actually leave and went back to her parents. I had to tell her I ruined my credit score and we can't get a new apartment this year until I fix it. Credit is too bad to rent in New York City at our salary. I kinda wish this was a joke, but I have a genuine addiction. This week, I've accumulated over $5,000 in pledges. I have no idea what I'm doing. Please help. Request refunds from support and seek some professional help with your impulse control. There's nothing that anyone here will be able to help you with directly. OP. What's the point? She's walking out. The point is, you have a problem that's literally overtaking your real life. Get help. You posted in other subreddits about how she is actually leaving you, but not before you update your Star Citizen status. You're never going to get above this unless you get help, delete your account, and take things seriously. Your wake-up call was the first incident of spending your money on this game. I would call it mental health problems, but you say down, fixed the issue a bit, then did it again. And now you're single. You still haven't stopped or gotten help. 1. Ask for a refund. 2. Get professional help. 3. Inform your girlfriend of the steps you've taken and tell her that she means more to you than the game. This is insanity, doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. A while back, my significant other and I had hit a rough patch. I'm an avid player of Star Citizen, and admittedly, I tend to go overboard with it. A few months ago, during a sale, I impulsively spent our saved down payment for a house on virtual spaceships. Understandably, she was furious and temporarily left. I realized my mistake, apologized, and took on an extra job to replenish our savings. I'm close to restoring our financial status to its original state, though it will take another 6 months to fully recover, not accounting for my personal debt. As part of reconciling, she asked me not to purchase any more spaceships for 6 months. Initially, this seemed reasonable, but over time, I've come to view it as somewhat excessive. Despite this, I recently bought a few more spaceships, and she discovered it, now considering leaving me for good. I thought that by nearly restoring the savings I had spent, I had made amends for my actions. I genuinely enjoy collecting spaceships in the game. She's also concerned about my credit score and other financial issues, but I'm confident I can You need to stop buying those spaceships, man. But I'm confident I can rectify those in the coming years, given that I've already managed to recover most of our savings through extra work. I'm struggling to understand if I'm in the wrong for breaking what now seems like an arbitrary promise, or if her reaction to leave over what I consider my primary hobby is unjustified. You're the jerk. Here, I fixed it for you. I'm a passionate gambler. One night I gambled all of our mutual savings for a down payment away. She was upset, and we agreed on me working extra shifts to pay back the savings and not to gamble for at least 6 months. I paid back the savings, and I'm now gambling again like nothing happened, and I didn't betray her trust by doing this again in the first place. Now she doesn't trust me anymore and wants to leave me, and I have no idea why. Also, my credit score sucks now, and I still have personal debts, while spending money on gambling again. Why doesn't she want a future with me anymore? What else can she want than a dude with debt, bad credit, and a gambling addiction who already gambled away our mutual savings once? I'm a catch, but she somehow doesn't see it this way. Why? OP. It's not gambling because I own the spaceships. You are gambling on their resale value. Unless you have no intention of selling them at all, in which case they aren't an investment in any helpful way here. You've mentioned in another response that you see them as an investment, and they contribute nothing practical to your life. The very best you can hope for is a morale boost for time spent on your hobbies. And while it's nice to have that, you've gone so far over the line that you've risked and probably lost your relationship. You know full well you're the jerk. You must. Nobody can be this deluded. Wait, you spent $15,000 on digital spaceships in a game alpha that were to be used for a house down payment behind the back of your spouse? After she discovered it, you told her that you would replenish the money and stop buying ships for 6 months? You did get a job, and before both conditions were met, you already bought another spaceship? And you have the audacity to pretend that they are investments in one comment and say that you would never sell them in another? Which is it? Let me tell you, it's going to be a divorce. Please never reproduce and get your addiction under control before ever getting another girlfriend. You're the jerk. $15,000 on a video game? He's lucky she didn't hurt him. He buried the lead too. If you read his other posts, he dropped another $5,000 on virtual crap. Update. My girlfriend and I had plans to move to a better apartment, but I jeopardized our dream by spending our savings on Star Citizen, a video game. This incident has made me realize that I might be battling a gaming addiction and impulsive spending. Despite her initial forgiveness and a clear agreement to not buy more in-game items for 6 months while replenishing our savings, I failed to stick to our plan. This breach of trust led to a major argument, especially after I refused her suggestion to sell my gaming account. Consequently, she's left, and we haven't spoken since. The situation has hit me hard, making me see how my gaming habit has turned from a hobby into a destructive force in my life. I'm struggling with the realization that my actions have not only damaged my relationship, but are also affecting my financial stability, as my credit score is now in jeopardy. The most painful part is recognizing how much I love her and the extent of the turmoil I'm in. I'm earnestly seeking advice on how to address my addiction and possibly salvage my relationship. Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard. Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.